At 18 years old, Kelly Thompson decided she was going to enlist in the Canadian Armed Forces. She would be following in the footsteps of 4 generations of her family. She is now sharing her personal experience in the military, inviting readers alongside her as she goes through grueling basic training, as well as sharing stories of the sexism and misogyny she experienced firsthand. Kelly Thompson is our guest in studio this morning. Good to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Why did you want to join the military? You start out in the book by saying, I wanted to be a writer, not a soldier.
Yes, always. It was always my dream to be a writer. But 9/11 happened in my last year of high school, and my dad was still serving at the time. And I really wanted an education. Education really mattered to me. Going through as an officer, you can get your degree paid for at the same time. And somehow it just felt like the right thing to do.
And as we mentioned, 4 generations of your family had been involved in military life.
Yes.
So it seemed like a good fit. You would have heard stories before from relatives, I imagine, of basics training, but what was it like to actually live it? What did you go through?
Well, it was funny because the experiences I had given to me were all from males in my family.
Right.
And so I knew it would be tough physically.
How did it differ for you, though?
It differed in terms of the opening up, in that I didn't quite realize that the sexism was so prevalent. So I got there, and on top of dealing with trying to just survive the experience like everyone else is, you're also dealing with having expectations put on you that are both more positive but also negative at the same time. So sort of a different standard that we're set to. The women were supposed to be a little more well-behaved, and that kind of comes out in some of the chapters.
You don't spare any detail in this book. I found it really shocking when you talked about the bruises that you were taking a look at, 5 dime-sized bruises on your behind after
Yes.
going through basic training exercises from colleagues grabbing you.
Yes, on the obstacle course, and we were going up over a wooden wall, and this man was grabbing me and squeezing me and making all these crude jokes and comments about it. And you're faced with a choice. Do you say something? Do you be the woman who can't take it and can't take a joke? Or do you stand up and say something and stand up for yourself? Or do you just keep going silently, which is sort of how most of the women I saw functioned?
I want to read something from your book because I found this really fascinating. There was a lot of physical challenges, which you've talked about, that are shared by everybody, no matter your gender.
Yeah.
But you describe a culture that comes across as sexist, and in particular in this episode where you're in a bathing suit, a colleague makes a comment, but you were really honest and you write, I never once asked any of them to stop because I wanted to flirt, to be adored, to be accepted. I couldn't also be seen as the woman who couldn't take a joke, or worse, couldn't accept a perceived compliment. Where was the line for you, and how did you figure that out?
I don't think I saw the line until I left. And it was funny, I had people say, oh, do you feel like you were perhaps harassed while you were in the military? And I'd say, no, it was all very respectful and wonderful. I don't think it was until I left and really came to understand more about my values being my own, and also taking ownership of your own body and your own choices about what happened to your body. But we're also a bunch of 18-year-olds thrown together. For the most part, we're all around the same age, and we're sort of thrown together, and no one's really taught about how we respect one another in that workplace and how we respect the things that make us so very different. So I think that's what made it such a challenge.
I want to ask about the response from the Canadian military to you sharing your story, but also the title of the book. It's called Girls Need Not Apply. What does that mean to you, and should women apply to be in the military if there's a known environment that's being exposed that they are potentially walking into?
I always say I have no regrets about joining, and I would never change a thing. And I always encourage women to join, because without women, we don't have change. And without women who kind of bring all that they have to the table just as much as the men are, then we don't come to appreciate what women bring to the table as far as their qualities that make them great at their job. But I think the response from the military has been wonderful. Actually, several bases have asked for me to come out and give some lectures in relation to the book. The response from former colleagues, less so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in response for not only women who are serving or who have left, but women and men? Have they had a different response to your
Very
stories?
much. So last night we had an event in Kingston. Several women cried when they came up and just said, thanks for being so honest that it's not great. It's just, you want to be heard. Anyone who wants to be heard and feel seen. And so when we feel like we have a voice and someone is championing, my experience is my personal experience, and other women have had different experiences, certainly, and positive ones too. And I did have positive experiences. But I think we have to encourage our women to stand up for themselves, but also do that within a network of support.
Kelly Thompson, good to meet you in person
Nice to meet
after
you.
having read your story. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Thanks so much.
The book, as a reminder, is called Girls Need Not Apply. Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.